La la la. I don't know how much of that I can do legally. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, a special Christmassy episode. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johanna Claus.
It's me, Frosty the Snowman.
Oh,
And
shit.
oh man, I was expecting more. And I'm still just me, the media movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. And we're recording this on the day after Christmas. And I hope you both had had a good holiday season, had some relaxation time. John and I were just talking about how he's off work of his day job this week. And how are y'all doing?
The weather's getting
good.
warmer, so I'm melting, and it's horrible. And someone took my magic hat, so I'm bound to die any minute now.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that, Frosty.
No.
That's I wish I had some cold to give to you, but I don't. I'm here in Texas, where there's actually it's a little chilly here, but not chilly enough to
Not
sustain
snowman
a
chilly.
snowman.
That's okay.
So I apologize.
It's okay. Dying's fine. Life is overrated. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this extra festive episode of Fresh Out the Podcast, where we talk about something. What are we talking about, Drew?
Violent Night.
Oh,
We're gonna
Violent
talk about
Night.
Violent Night. Gary or Frosty, is the one that kind of invoked this at the end of last episode as something we could kind of talk about. And I didn't get to see this movie last year when it came out, and so 'tis the holiday season. It's a good time to catch up on it. Gave Gary an opportunity to rewatch it and come to some new conclusions or reinforce existing conclusions, whatever that may be about this movie. Is that right, Gary?
Yeah, no, this movie is Violent Night, of course, what we're talking about. It's hard to say when a movie comes out if it's your favorite holiday movie, because it's the first year it came out. One of the things about holiday movies is you watch them every year, right? So eventually they'll either solidify a place in your heart to be rewatchable, or it's not going to make the list. I thought Violent Night was a cult classic immediately. I thought this was the kind of movie that I could watch every year because it's overly violent, right? The name is Violent Night, so it's comedically violent, and it's got David Harbour, who, of course, I love David Harbour, so maybe it's a little bit of a fanboy for David Harbour, but I love the action genre. I love the slasher genre of horror, and this takes that slasher genre, slams it into an action, and just makes a fantastic, festive holiday comedy. Nothing but love for Violent Night. How about you, Drew? I know it was your first time watching it. Actually, let's go to Jahan. Jahan, you watched it last year, right? And then again this year, so you're sort of on the same viewing pattern I am.
Oh, yeah, it's great. They took Santa Claus, they turned him into a character from Mortal Kombat, and then they let him loose in a house being raided by John Leguizamo, and you get to watch somebody get stabbed in the butthole. So, win,
I
win,
love that.
win.
I love that Santa Claus, is just getting his ass beat the entire time. The whole time. He has some Santa magic, but it is not healing magic or shielding magic. It's more of moving around. He gets shot, he gets stabbed, he gets walloped, and it looks like it, and it feels like it. One more thing I was going to add was the sort of homage to Home Alone, right? Right in the beginning, they say the girl has just recently watched Home Alone, and then she's in the attic later and sets up a whole series of Home Alone-esque traps, which I'd completely forgotten about them. And on my second watch through, they were a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, and they're
over
so
again.
brutal. Because what he did to those people in Home Alone was actually kind of messed up, but, I mean, it's fair.
All right, Drew, we're going to open the gates for you.
So I'll kind of start from the beginning, which is, when this movie came out last year, I was vaguely aware of it. Like, I don't know if I'd seen many trailers, but I had definitely seen the poster with David Harbour and his Santa hat. It's like a close-up on his face. He's got a candy cane sticking out of his mouth, almost like a pipe. And I remember seeing it and thinking, as much as I love David Harbour, this poster kind of looks like what you'd see on like a direct-to-DVD kind of Christmas horror movie or Christmas action movie. Not to put the movie down by any means, but it just looked like that, and I just didn't have much interest in it despite liking David Harbour. And then when reviews of the movie started coming out, I'd say they were like mixed to positive, And then Gary was the first of the people that I knew, in my inner circle that saw this movie. And he was immediately like beating the drum for this movie, saying how good it was. And I know that we have other friends in our circle that started watching it through Gary's recommendation. I started hearing more and more positive things. And then I remember the movie got put on Peacock last year, maybe at the end of last year or early on in this year. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch it. And I just, maybe it wasn't the right season. I just never got a chance to. And so when Gary brought it up again this year, I was like, okay, perfect. This is a great time to watch it. And I'll say going into it, I assumed, just based on the look of it and the images I'd seen of David Harbour, I assumed he was like a mall Santa Claus or something of the sorts. I was surprised when the movie starts up to learn quickly
he was actually Santa.
that he's the real Santa Claus in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, they tell you the twist pretty much right out the gate, but that's one of my favorite things to not tell people who are watching this, is that he is Santa Claus. Like, that he is. He's the real one.
And in the opening scene of him, just getting extremely intoxicated and then going to the roof of this bar where his sleigh and reindeer are to fly off, and this old, woman comes out, the bar, what is she, the bartender, bar owner, whoever she is, I can't even remember at this point, comes out, realizes that he's Santa, gets really excited, then he just, proceeds to vomit all over her from the sky. I laughed really hard, and it very quickly sets the tone for the movie. I was like, okay, I'm in on this already. And that being said, I liked the movie overall. I think it has some very odd pacing issues. Like, I think that it in the beginning or middle sags a little bit when it gets too much into the family stuff, because I really didn't care much about them at all in it. But there is a moment like midway through, like in the maybe getting into the third act, where Santa actually gets the sledgehammer, and like from then on to credits roll, the movie's just like 10 out of 10 gold all in that part. The Home Alone part you described, I also really enjoyed, taking the Home Alone, like, taking the outline but making it even more violent than Home Alone is. Like the guy on the attic stairs with the nail and going through his
he falls onto the step, and the nail goes like through the bottom of his chin straight into his mouth, and they get some really good effects and camera angles on that. It's totally
like when the church steeple goes through that guy's mouth in Hot Fuzz. It's the same thing.
This I love, what's her name, Edie Patterson. She plays Judy Gemstone, and she's the annoying sister in this one. That actress, that character she portrays, she nails that character. She's just so hateable and hilarious at the same time. She really has that character on lockdown, and I've sort of forgotten she was in this. Maybe if I'd have thought harder, I would have remembered. But her with that idiot character was super welcome. You just, anyone might die at any point in time, and most of the people in that room are just absolutely hateable, and that's great to me.
Oh, they're the worst, and it's always fun.
One of her early lines where she's giving her brother a hard time, like as if he's this big suck up for naming his daughter after their mom, and he immediately comes back with how her son's name is, his daughter's name is Gertrude, and the son's name is Bertrude, and I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah,
that's my style of humor for sure.
Yeah, she's super funny. She slam dunks that role. The whole movie is just, her boyfriend who runs away and then immediately gets gunned down. Just hilarious bit after bit in the movie with lots of gratuitous violence. So it's for sure not a family holiday movie.
Oh, no.
But it is no doubt a holiday movie.
It's a family movie if you have a cool family.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, your family is old enough now. You could play that for your family.
Yeah, we have old family.
Even your young cousin is old enough for that movie.
Yes, he thought it was hilarious.
I started this movie up actually by myself, and then I had to, just due to family reasons, had to watch it in 2 sittings. But I finished it, and I was in bed, and my wife was watching some of it too. Like, was doing her own thing, like scrolling her phone, but would catch bits and pieces of it and would laugh out loud at it. Yeah. So I like that when you get
that's
that
hilarious.
You're like, I don't know
Especially-
how they're gonna react, but you're getting laughs. It's good.
Like you said, the pacing in that movie, like the whole first act is all the family and Christmas stuff, and then the second act is all the gratuitous violence. And so if you watched it in two parts, she just saw lots of the Hammer stuff and was laughing about it. And that stuff is hilarious. Like, it's one of the things where, like, is it too violent? But then you see him like hit a dude in the chest and the guy flies like 35 feet away through a wall, and you're like, they know what they're doing. They know that this is like, he's got magic tattoos, you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be stupid and funny and silly. They crushed it. And we talked about how Cocaine Bear couldn't find its legs. It couldn't decide if it wanted to be serious or silly. Violent Night found its legs and it did both. It was certainly serious and silly and fun and dangerous all at the same time. It really succeeded where some of these other pseudo comedies fail.
I agree with that. Like, just this movie, despite the pacing issues, like I said, it knows what it wants to be, and I'd say it succeeds. Pretty much across the board. And David Harbour's committed to it, and anytime he's on screen, it's great. I just somehow could have used even more of him in this movie. John Leguizamo's fine. He plays kind of the main villain, but he's just kind of like you're not generic necessarily, because he is super profane and kind of funny at times too, but you're like terroristic.
Well, it's funny because he's
organizer,
codename Mr. Scrooge, and it's all about how his Christmas was ruined when he's a kid, and so he's like Grinching Christmas. And so there are so many Christmas stories baked into this one Christmas story, where you really get the Grinch story out of that guy. My life was good, but then one day everyone turned on me, and now I'm going to ruin the season for everyone. So it's just, perfect Grinchy, Scroogey stuff. Would you watch another Violent Night? I don't know if they're ever gonna make one. I'm just pulling that out of my ass, but I would love to see another situation.
I'd watch a sequel
where this Santa winds up in another similar situation, maybe, different location, but more bad guys trying to kill the same Santa. I think I could get behind that.
I would also watch more. I had seen... Apparently in January of this year, they've said that a sequel is in production. I don't know if there's actually been movement there, and I'm sure if there was any kind of movement with the strikes that happened this year, I'm sure it got put on major hold. But it sounds like Harbour is interested in returning, so I'll keep listening for news on this, because I would go see another one. And I'm sure if they do another one, they'll bring in Mrs. Claus, and I could see that being like another female action star of some kind, and that she will get involved in the violence and such.
Yeah.
No.
No.
You don't think so?
Gary's out on that.
No, that's like classic 90s sequel stuff. That and then the third one, they're gonna have a kid. You know what I mean? Oh, that's the trilogy. That's the classic. No. He
I
did
mean, it's
fine
fair.
on
He
his
doesn't
own.
have a Mrs. Claus in this movie, so.
Well, that's part of his arc, though, is that he
mentions her. He does mention her.
Yeah, he mentions her, and he still loves her. And apparently, at some point in history, he screwed up the relationship. Is what he kind of alludes to.
Oh, maybe the second movie's him getting her back. It'd be good.
If Mrs. Claus doesn't appear in it, elves for sure will. There have to be some sort of elves appearance or because like you said, Gary, it is part of the formula. You're right. So even though it's cliche, you have to somehow increase the Santa lore or add to it in some way, whether it's elves or more of the reindeer or Mrs. Claus or something.
Oh, I've got a good one. How about you show the North Pole, and he's just like living in a crap Airstream trailer with beer cans all over the place? It's just not at all what you think it is.
I like this. I'm already liking this.
There we go. I got it. So there's a piece. I do think the elves too, them being completely what you don't expect them to be, would be good. Like a room with like 3 dudes played by Orlando Bloom would be really great.
Be pretty funny.
Yeah. Overall, I liked this, and I'm glad that you recommended it. I was looking at the director's filmography. Looks like Tommy Wirkola is his name. Definitely some movies I've heard of, but nothing that I've watched. Like he directed that Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters movie, the one with Jeremy Renner in it. I never saw it, but I am aware of it. And What Happened to Monday, which is the Netflix movie with Noomi Pace about clones, and some of these movies I haven't seen any of them, but Violent Night is the first that I now have
Are
seen.
they clones in that movie? I thought they were just septuplets or whatever.
Is that what it is? Maybe it is. I
Yeah,
haven't
a
seen
woman
it.
gave birth to like 7 identical children, and
And they're all named after days of the week. That's all I know.
because in that dystopia you can
Oh,
only
you're
have
right.
one kid, and so
You're right.
Yeah,
So they live in hiding.
they live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Haven't seen it. Sorry. Apologies to the What Happened to Monday Hive that's listening to this. That I'm gonna get angry.
Yeah, dude,
at
they're coming at
mentions.
you.
I really want
I
hate mail.
apologize.
I'd be excited for us to receive hate mail.
Yeah. Anything else on Violent Night, Gary? Obviously, this is a rewatchable for you. You said it stands high atop your Christmas movies.
Yeah, man, there were really some cool things that stuck out the first time that I had sort of forgotten about, like the flashbacks to when he was a Norse warrior and had all the tattoos and stuff and the dripping blood axe. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. He's not just Santa. He used to be a Viking warrior. Now he's
they
like
could
an
do a
immortal.
prequel.
Yeah, there's a lot of room for them to play around with this. I like the character. I like his, he's basically a barbarian turned Santa Claus. So he's a teddy bear softy with a violent streak inside. So there's some things about the character that I like and that called to me. And then, of course, the Home Alone, the Grinch, they've got Santa, and it's almost like a bad Santa with all his drinking and stuff. So it's this combination, a culmination of all these Christmas movies that I already like. So super rewatchable for me, cult classic in my opinion. I got nothing but good things to say about Violent Night.
I will say regarding the Viking warrior past, I kind of felt like that was just tacked on. You could have fleshed that out a little bit, but then at the same time, it's like, what more do you really need to know? It justifies why Santa's really good with the sledgehammer and why he's violent. He's a Viking warrior, but you could have had more there for me and it would have been fine. But absolutely, as soon as you start seeing these fiery flashbacks of him with a sledgehammer and Viking warrior past, I'm like, this is just pandering to Gary at this point.
It's like you could have cued the heavy metal right there and had no more dialogue for the rest of the movie. They had nailed it at that point.
Yeah, they could have just John Wick 4'd it at that point.
What do you think, Jahan? Is it fresh? Drew, is it
Oh
fresh?
yeah, I think it's certified fresh. I mean, it's the first movie to be added to my Christmas list since Elf, so it's definitely one of the best ones to come out in recent years. And I'll always enjoy him and John Leguizamo going up the chimney. That's my favorite.
That is good. That is a brutal death, but quite great. Yeah, I would also say it's fresh. I agree. It is fresh. Would watch again. Would watch a sequel. Would, in particular, if fast forward to the hammer scene and watch the end of the movie. Above all, but yeah, I did like this.
Believe it or not, I like the whole setup where it looks like the bad guys are planning out the heist and going around and checking out the house and stuff. Knowing like who's a bad guy on the second watch through makes it a little bit more fun. And just waiting for that moment, because it's the one particular moment where he gets caught behind the tree when everything goes from a bad night to a really bad night. And that's just kind of a fun moment to watch.
I also liked all of their Christmas code names.
Yeah, they were great. Gingerbread and Tinsel and Frosty. Krampus.
Krampus, yeah. Candy Cane.
Krampus was going to smash somebody's nuts with a nutcracker.
Yes.
Like really, really wanted to.
Yeah, dude, he couldn't wait. That's you if you were a character in that movie, John.
I want to smush people's nuts with a nutcracker?
Yeah, you're Krampus.
Okay.
I mean, they need a guy to volunteer to do it, and he volunteers to do it. And you're the only
I'll do
person
it.
I know. Yeah, exactly. You're the only person I know in a room full of sane people that would be like, oh, we got to smash somebody's nuts? I'll do it.
Well, I'm not squeamish, and I'm
We
also
have to.
yeah.
All right, Drew,
Totally
now that
down.
we talked about nut smashing, what else do you have on the docket?
Yeah, so that was our main discussion. I thought it'd be fun to kind of do not even like a retro movie, but like a retro review or a holiday feature that we could talk about that I feel like was good for us and our audience. Before moving on, and we can go through some fresh movies of the week. Be it the holiday season, I've kind of watched a lot, and some of these I'm just going to drill through and not spend too much time on. But the first one I will talk about is the newest release of the week is Aquaman.
Boo.
and the Lost City, or the Lost. Is that what it's called? That's the sad part. I can't remember what its full title is. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I think.
It was so good, huh, Drew?
It's something like that. So it is an inside joke here that I like the first Aquaman a lot. And I rewatched it before seeing this one, and I stand by it. I still think that movie is super fun. I just like the fact that Aquaman is this like B tier Justice League character. Not even that. He's like C or D tier Justice League character. Despite being like kind of the main roster, he's the worst one, right? Like he's the guy that talks to fish. Ha ha. I like the Jason Momoa casting to kind of go against the stereotype. And then you have this movie that it's like James Wan knows that this character is super cheesy, so let's just have fun with that and be a cheeseball movie with a lot of action and a lot of fun and dumb one-liners. Like I'm here for it. I really like the first one. I stand by it. And the second one, I feel like if you are a big fan of the first one, or even just a medium fan of the first one, you will find things to like in it. But it is definitely lesser than the first. It's flopping at the box office right now.
Like a fish?
Yeah, indeed, like a fish.
Got 'em.
Indeed.
Would you say it's struggling to find legs like a fish?
I would say so. I would say so. Yeah, it's just the other interesting thing about it is it's very much a contained Aquaman story. So it being the conclusion to the DCEU as we knew it is like totally the DCEU going out with a whimper, like just into oblivion. Goodbye, see you never, most likely. So yeah, it's just Patrick Wilson, is back in this one, and he is totally playing up the cheese in it, and I think he kind of saved the movie. Strangely enough, not an actor who you would normally say that about. I like Patrick Wilson in general, but it's strange that he's the one that's saving the Aquaman franchise. There's also a whole storyline here with the property Orichalcum being used in this Lost Kingdom as like an energy source, and Nicole Kidman's back in this movie, and hearing her say Orichalcum multiple times with a dead serious tone and face is hilarious and strange. And
it's like a
movie's strange.
fantasy metal.
It is indeed, but apparently it has roots in reality. Like it could have been a real thing, second only to gold and value. I was researching this the other day. I was unclear if it was actually real or not, but it makes me think of Final Fantasy games.
Makes me think of Skyrim because there's Orichalcum in there.
I believe Orichalcum is always one of the rare properties in a lot of RPG franchises that you would use to craft your master weapon.
It's unobtainium.
They pretty much the equivalent, the video game equivalent. So yeah, that's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Goodbye to the DCEU. I don't know how much you will be missed by anyone other than the diehard Zack Snyder fans.
Oof.
I mean, he's still around, and they'll just wink to anything he puts out. So I'm sure they're fine.
I'm not convinced that anyone likes him. I think it's all bots. I think it's an army of bots.
There was that thing about how the Snyder Cut Twitterverse demand was all bots. So
I don't even think he knows nobody likes him though. That's the thing. The poor guy.
His newest movie is out on Netflix, and all I'll say about it is it's getting shredded. Haven't seen it. It's just getting eviscerated and poo-pooed on hardcore.
So I didn't put it on my list to talk about today because my brother said something really funny, and I feel it. He said I watched as much of that movie as I could, and that's how I feel about it too. So I don't think it's fair to talk about it. I didn't watch it a whole lot, but maybe like 6 minutes in, not a long time. I was like, holy crap, this has no soul. This is just boring, terrible. This is just, it's like a chore to watch, but 6 minutes is not a fair review, so it didn't make my list.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'll move on to the next. I saw Migration, which is the new Illumination animated movie out in theaters. Illumination, the animation studio behind the Despicable Me and Minions franchise and Secret Life of Pets and so on and so forth. And I went with my family to see this. I have a almost 4-year-old, so this is right up her alley, and it's about some ducks that are migrating south trying to get to Jamaica. And the father duck voiced by Kumail Nanjiani, the mama duck is voiced by Elizabeth Banks, and there's like a strange crazy uncle voiced by Danny DeVito, and some other characters throughout, like Keegan-Michael Key's in this, who he's like all over the place. Like he's in Wonka, and then earlier this year he was in the Super Mario movie, which was also Illumination, and like just he's Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele just getting all the money all over the
cash and
place.
checks.
For sure. So anyways, and this was totally fine. Like it's your pretty standard animation fair migration. It's not the best Illumination movie. Not that there's like a super high bar. I actually like most of the Illumination animated movies, but it's totally fine. A nice movie about family with ducks, and the youngest little girl duck was named Gwen in the movie, which is the name of my own daughter. So that was really fun as we were watching it. But migration, yeah, it's totally fine. If if you need something to take your kids to see in the movies, I recommend it. It's good.
Nice. I almost actually chose this as my birthday movie, but did not.
Yep. And it's also like there is a Despicable Me related or Minions short before the movie that adds a little bit on, but the migration itself is like an hour and 20 minutes long, if that. It's pretty short. Super watchable.
I love that. That's dope.
Oh yeah, and I believe Illumination's under the Universal banner, so this should be coming to Peacock in the near future, probably in a couple months, and you'll be able to watch it there. So it's migration. A couple of Netflix movies I also watched, and this next one is kind of leads into Drew's Oscar corner, which is Maestro, the new Bradley Cooper directed and starring in movie about the composer, conductor, musician Leonard Bernstein. And just to summarize my thoughts on this, it's that Bradley Cooper's legit. I really like Bradley Cooper's A Star Is Born that he did with Lady Gaga that he directed and starred in, and I really liked Maestro, and it's not your traditional biopic. I think what he tries to do with it is really interesting. For those who don't know, Leonard Bernstein kind of very well known, and like did some incredible stuff in the 50s and 60s. As far as like mainstream stuff, he did the music for West Side Story and a whole bunch of stuff. Was I believe the youngest conductor ever to I'm gonna get all my facts wrong because I'm not like in the music world, but he's very well known for his music skills. Also was a homosexual who was married to a woman, but his affairs were kind of like well known, and the movie deals with that a lot and portrays it really interestingly, and like highlights the relationship with his wife and her knowing what he was doing and how that impacted them and things, but it just doesn't tell it in a traditional way. And I thought this movie was incredibly well done, and I really liked it. And it's on Netflix, and it's a shame that that's where I had to watch it, because I would have really liked to see this in a theater. But Maestro probably will be in the Oscar race, but I just feel like it's coming out on Netflix late. I don't know what kind of push it'll have behind it, but Bradley Cooper is particularly really great.
Bradley Coop's the man. He can do comedy. He could do serious. He can do crying scenes. He can do whatever he wants.
He can be a raccoon.
It's even fun to see him. Like I've seen like stuff with like him and his mom, where there's like the anxious, nervous energy where they're goofing around, where he's just being naturally himself. So I'm about it. I'm about the Koopies. I'm a Koopies fan. I've liked Koopies since The Hangover. That's what put him on my map, and he's just been great ever since.
Wet Hot American Summer, Doug.
Oh yeah, the Koopies.
Koopies.
Yeah, so that's Maestro. Another Netflix movie I watched. Did either of you watch Leave the World Behind by any chance?
No, but it looked pretty good.
Yeah, this is.
I don't know what that is.
So this is the new Sam Esmail directed movie on Netflix. Sam Esmail, who's behind the show Mr. Robot, and who also did the show Homecoming that was on Prime Video. This is a feature film on Netflix that stars Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke and Mahershala Ali and Kevin Bacon. And it's essentially about like a a cyber attack, and this family going on vacation, and they're kind of stranded, not stranded, but like they're alienated, and this whole, the country goes under attack in kind of an unknown quantity, and they're kind of trying to figure it out and figure out what's going on. And
That's a movie? That sounds awesome. I would watch a whole series of that with those people, though. That would be dope.
this is another one where I think the pacing can be a little off at times, but the performances in it are really good. I think that it's a little bit polarizing just because, stories that take this approach, that how much they choose to go into what's really happening and what's not and who's behind it. Like, if you don't mind the vagaries of that, then like you'll be fine with this movie. But like, if you really want to know what exactly is happening, it might not be for you. But I like when the movie doesn't, have to over-explain everything.
The civilian perspective of something like that does not give you a lot of information at the time either. It would take 10 years maybe to sort that out and figure out who did what and to explain it in one sentence. But yeah, if you were just in something like that, you wouldn't have a whole lot of answers very quickly.
There's a lot of talk about the end of this movie, how it ends, and I'm not going to say anything. Of course, I don't want to spoil it. All I will say is the ending of this movie made me feel seen. And if you watch this movie, Gary, you will see it, and you will know exactly what I mean by that. This just is catered in the way that the Viking mythology was pandering to you, Gary, that it felt like the ending of this movie was pandering to me. And
just at Drew Munhausen at the end, that's how it ended, was just a few frames just at your social media handle.
Absolutely.
But Leave the World Behind is what we're talking about. Did you see it in theaters? Did you see it on a streaming app? I'm interested in this one.
This is a Netflix original, so it is on Netflix. It's been in the top 10 for a couple weeks. I think when I looked last night, it was like number 3 on their top 10. So it's up there. It's still hanging around on Netflix.
Cool.
And that's the only place where this is showing.
I'm gonna check out Leave the World Behind. I'll probably talk about it a little bit next week with you because that sounds like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, there's nothing, and I think like for you in particular, how sometimes you talk about movies, I don't think there's really anything triggering in this either. Like,
very cool.
Maybe one little part, but I don't think it will. We can talk about it offline. But
heck yeah.
So let's Leave the World Behind. Another one that I'll jump over really quick. I watched What Happens Later, which is a new Meg Ryan kind of came out of her acting semi-retirement to be in this rom-com with David Duchovny, and she directed it, and my wife wanted to watch it. It had a brief stint in theaters, and now it's on VOD, so we rented it, and it's not good. That's all I have to say about it. Don't watch it. It's a single location movie. It takes place in an airport, and it's really slow, and it's mostly relies on the dialogue between these two characters who are not very interesting, and I'd say don't watch it. Don't watch What Happens Later. Sorry, Meg Ryan.
The title's hilarious. It's like it makes you want to keep watching as if something's going to happen later, but I don't think it does.
I really like the kind of Nora Ephron-esque Meg Ryan rom-coms of the past, like When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail and those kinds of things. Regardless of how good those movies actually are, like I enjoy watching those types of movies. So I'm like, I'll see like an aged up, a little bit older Meg Ryan movie. What's happening here? And no, I just did not like. So that's that. And then lastly, talking about the Christmas times, even though The Wizard of Oz is not a Christmas movie, I do kind of, for whatever reason, associate it with the holidays for whatever reason. That might be actually imparted on me by my mother, who said that every year around Christmas that they used to watch this when she was a little girl, and so when we were hanging out on Christmas Eve and my daughter and I watched this, and she was actually pretty into it. She likes villains and the different shows she watched, so she was kind of into the Wicked Witch. Every time the witch was on screen, when she wasn't, she was saying, "Where's the witch? What's she doing? Oh, there's a good witch. Oh, this girl, she's got red shoes." It's all that kind of stuff appeals to a 3-year-old girl. And
you say the name
the only
of the
thing
movie yet?
I said The Wizard of Oz.
Okay, I was like, wait a second.
How about you pay attention more, John?
Got him.
I was making sure.
So yeah, so it's The Wizard of Oz, and it's classic. It's not like I need to review it here. It just was fun to have an experience
I
with
got a
my
follow up
kid watching this
question.
one.
Have you watched the like the second Wizard of Oz? That's the sequel.
Return to Oz.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't watched it, and then watched it for like the first time maybe like 5 years ago.
It is an all-timer for me. That's one of those when I was like younger that we would rent on VHS all the time because I was into like the dark stuff, like Nightmare Before Christmas and whatever. And
Is it messed
uh,
up? I haven't seen this.
Yeah,
Return.
dude.
Oh,
It's
Return to Oz is like nightmare fuel for sure.
yeah, dude. It's weird as hell, Jahan. You might like it. It might be up your alley.
Do you know
It's
that?
like it's a semi sequel to Wizard of Oz, but more directly based on the books. Like stays truer to the source material. It's one of those weird Disney movies of the '80s that is super dark. There's like a strange robot named TikTok and a Jack Pumpkinhead, who is like literally a tall man made of sticks with a pumpkin for a head,
The
and
bad guys have rollerblades on their hands and feet, so they can do
Yep.
cartwheels and rollerblade at you and chase you down instead of being flying
Okay,
monkeys. They're
that sounds vaguely familiar.
the main villain is a woman who like switches her heads out. Like she has a hallway full of heads, and she'll like put one on a podium and like switch her heads out all the time.
That's
And
cool.
she's
That's why
extremely
she's-
horrifying.
yeah, she's like trying to kill the main character to get her head. She's like, give me your head, Red Queen style. Anyways, it's on Disney Plus, John. You should check it out
Oh
at some
boy,
point.
I might have to.
It is literally like no joke, one of my all-time favorites. Love that movie.
So that's weird that you say that. My brother, he's 6 years older than me. He swears that we used to watch it all the time. But I think it's one of those things where maybe I was a baby and he used to watch it all the time. So it was really important in his childhood and not mine. Maybe his developmental years, like, 5 to 9, when I would have been 0 to 3 or 4. So I think I totally missed it as a kid and then had to rediscover it. It's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's good. I think during the lockdown early on in the pandemic, I turned this on one day and watched it as like just needing like not a feel good movie, but like just something nostalgic to make me happy in that way. And it hit the sweet spot for
Yeah,
sure.
I watched all the Toy Story movies and cried really hard. I get it. All right,
That-
Jahan, take us
happens.
to Movie Town.
Oh boy, I saw a movie for my birthday. I chose Wonka this year. On the suggestion of Drew. Drew said it was pretty good, and you know what? You weren't wrong, man. This was a pretty solid movie. I liked it. There's a lot of singing numbers, which I'm not really bothered by. I like musicals. It's entertaining. It's charming. It's fun. It's imaginative. Great family movie. Honestly, bitterly sad. Like it has like this sadness to it that I was impressed by. There's some real emotion here, and I recommend this movie. I think Wonka is a good movie. Just by itself. You don't even have to regardless of its predecessor. It stands on its own, I feel. It's a pretty good movie. The stuff you said about Keegan-Michael Key being a chocolate addict, I thought that was going to be annoying. It was kind of like a minor thing, and it was kind of funny because he got real fat, and that shit was hilarious. Had a great cast, good, and a lot of heart, man. It was a good movie, and I certify it fresh. I'd say, yeah, go watch Wonka with your family. You will not be disappointed. Timothy Chalamet kind of killed it, man.
I really like him in it too, man.
He did
I
good.
also certify it fresh. So I like this movie. It's just, I think also it just helped going into it with low expectations, and then to see it and be like, yeah, this is super charming and good.
I would say, as it stands, Timothy Chalamet is certified fresh out the box.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen him do wrong yet. He's
Haven't seen him bomb yet.
pretty
I
killer.
don't have a man crush on him yet or anything, but the kid's all right, man.
I look forward to seeing him in Dune Part 2. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking now to see if he has any true stinkers.
And if you
it's
can
like-
go Dune and then Wonka and then Dune, like, come on, dude, that's back and forth. That's all over the emotional range in the spectrum. That dude, the kid's got it.
I'm not a huge fan of the movie Don't Look Up, but that's not anything to do with him or.
oh yeah, he wasn't that. I liked that movie a lot.
It was that one suffered from being just too long. They needed to
Probably.
cut about 45 minutes, 40 minutes off of that thing.
That movie's just very much my humor. I love completely dry, unfunny humor because I'm stupid.
Let me talk about some TV real quick. It looks like I'm the only one who's got some fresh TV, and none of it is new. It's just new to me. Unless you have anything else, John.
Nope.
You want to? You good on Wonka?
Good on Wonka.
I didn't want to step on your toes. My bad.
Ow, my
You
toes.
did, Gary. You get to take ownership of Fresh TV of the Week for sure.
Yeah, man, it's a Blue-Eyed Samurai. Everyone's been talking about it. I finally checked it out.
I was
It
talking
really
about it.
funny. So was Connor. So was Zach. So was Thomas. Everyone has really been recommending this show. And there's some absolutely incredible fight scenes that you either couldn't do in real life or they would look cheesy in real life. But Drew, like, maybe skip to like 30 minutes into the first episode and just watch the fight scene in the dojo. And if you're not sold on the show, if you don't want to watch more, then that'll be that. But the main character walks into a dojo and is just like, I need to talk to your master. And they just won't let him talk to the master, and they keep trying to push the character out. And finally, a fight breaks out. Just cut to the chase. And the main character is just using a practice sword and beats the shit out of like 25 guys, and then beats their absolute best warrior they have in the entire camp. And then finally the master shows up, and it's all just to ask one question and then leave. So the main character just whoops everybody's ass, turns around, and goes on their way. And in that fight scene with the wooden sword, they put the sword in a guy's mouth and then knee him in the bottom of the mouth so he bites down on the sword. And then they rip the sword out of his mouth so there's teeth sticking in the wooden blade. And they shake the teeth out and then hit the teeth with the sword into another guy's eyeball. And I was just like, what?
Yeah, dude, it was sick.
Yeah, I was like, what did I just see? Like, oh my God. And I immediately rewound it and watched it again and was like, yeah, I think I'm in on this show. If that's the kind of fighting I'm expecting to see, it's absolutely nuts. Blue-Eyed Samurai, I'd say it's certified fresh. There was a twist at the end of the first episode, which was like not a twist at all for me. I thought it was pretty funny the whole time.
Yeah, it wasn't really much of a twist.
It wasn't much of a twist, but I think the point of it is the main character keeps everything secret. The main character's super secretive. And there are just multiple secrets throughout their storyline and throughout their life that even the viewer, you will be coming to learn new stuff as the story goes on. Blue-Eyed Samurai, certified fresh. Everybody says it's fresh. I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes. It's not bingey. I didn't binge it yet, which is unlike me. I'm a real big binger. So I don't know if I can give it a 9 of 10 or a 10 of 10. I don't think that's where it's at. Maybe it's like an 8. I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. I've also been, like you guys know, I got the Netflix machine going again, so I'm watching all the Netflix stuff, getting caught up. Watched more One Piece. Thought it was absolutely watchable. He's getting his crew together now. The main character, Monkey D. Luffy, is hilarious. He just accidentally is always in the right place at the right time. Like, he breaks a guy out of prison because he got lost in the sewers. Like, he didn't mean to go break somebody out of prison. That's the kind of stuff I can get behind. The main character is just accidentally wins almost everything. Really funny to watch. I like One Piece. I like the anime thing they're doing. The stretchy looks really good. It makes me wonder why Marvel couldn't do or didn't want to do stretchy. Netflix nails it here. And
yeah, I remember watching the early episodes and immediately being surprised at like how decent it looked, and you could tell they put a lot of money into this show, which makes sense. It's fans, even hardcore fans of the anime, seem to be celebrating this live action adaptation, which doesn't happen very often.
Oh, it does not.
No, it doesn't. I got in maybe the second or third episode, but I got to the clown where they're fighting in the circus, and that is awesome too. The whole thing just makes me want to play a video game, makes me want to play a tabletop game, makes me want to watch an anime. It's just so fun to watch, and just, I don't know, not maybe inspiring. You know what I mean? It inspires me to want to play and create and have fun. It's just a fun show.
This is
And
really
finally-
random, Gary.
Yeah.
Didn't you watch the show Hacks that I watched as well?
Yes, I did watch Hacks.
So Hacks, the Jean Smart show where she's a stand-up comedian, her in the show, I believe it's her agent the guy who plays her agent in
Mhm.
Hacks is the guy who plays the clown in the One Piece live action show, which is a
Really?
really random connection. But I was like, I wanted to know who was playing it, and that's who it is.
I
That's
was
funny.
looking too, and I was like, I do not recognize this guy from anything. But yeah, he killed the clown role. He really did. It's one of those things where like no matter what you do, people are going to compare the character to the Joker because it's a clown, and Joker's probably the most famous clown. This character stands out, stands alone, totally crushes it. A lot of fun to watch. This the way he moves around and the cool psychotic power that he has. It's truly a terrifying character. But One Piece is cool, man. I wonder if it keeps being. Maybe Jahan, maybe you know the answer to this. Is it always like a pirate of the week, like a monster of the week kind of thing, where they get in trouble and have to fight a pirate and get out? And usually
mean-
that pirate has some kind of demon fruit.
I mean, yeah, but also
That's awesome.
there's like the government.
That's awesome.
They
Yeah,
also
they're being
fight
chased by the
corrupt-
Marines
They have to fight
also.
the corrupt government. They're trying to, they're freedom fighters. And yeah, there's like 1,000 episodes literally. So
I'm in. Dude, this is pretty awesome. So far, so good. I'm about it. My last thing, also on Netflix, because you guys know how I work. I just go service to service, bro, and get all caught up, saving money that way, so I don't have to pay for every service at once. That's thinking in 4D. Last thing I've got, you guys both talked about it a little bit. The Squid Game, The Challenge show on Netflix. I got into this one, man. I'm like 6 episodes through already. There are some things I think are really unfair, like the battleship game where you just get eliminated because you were standing in the wrong spot or whatever and you had no say. I like whenever you have a race or you have to etch something out or you have some kind of, you have to do with your own elimination. So there's some stuff in this show that I'm not a huge fan of. Like when people are eliminated, they're just eliminated. Sometimes during the game, there's a blood pack that goes off that feels like they die. But I feel like if you are eliminating someone, you should have to walk up and like shoot them with a fake gun in front of everybody. And then everyone could really see you for the villain you are because just eliminating someone's not so bad. But when they view it as killing someone or being killed, that's when the show seems a little bit more serious. And I wish they sort of enforced those kind of those sick rules. That's what makes the show what it is, or Squid Games what it is it being very sick. Like when the money falls in because someone's eliminated, meh, whatever. Everyone's gonna be eliminated. But when it's under the facade that somebody dies, that money's a lot dirtier. I like Squid Game. I don't think that anyone should watch it except for me. I ended up fast forwarding through it a lot as well. Like the Battleship stuff, like I said, it's just really boring to watch people play Battleship and these no-name people get eliminated. And you're just like, okay, what am I? So skip that. Skip. So you just kind of end up watching a few key characters. I think they've got something here, but this isn't. They're not cooking with hot grease yet. They've just got a show, and it's barely watchable.
I've watched people play Battleship before competitively. Once there's PAX, they do a thing where you could sign up to enter like the gameathon, and like they just make you play random games. And like so sometime like one time the final was 007 for the 64. They've had Battleship, they've had all kinds of stuff. But so they were playing Battleship on stage, and everyone can see both sides on the camera and everything. And the guy hosting was like, everybody, like to the audience, he's like, be cool, like don't give anything, because we could all like be like, oh, like
be screaming, yeah.
That was a close one, It's it was just funny, yeah. That was entertaining, but yeah.
That's my fresh TV of the week: Blue-Eyed Samurai, One Piece, and Squid Game. If I had to pick one, I guess it would be One Piece. But that's it. 3 shows in and out. I wasn't a movie guy this week. I was a shows guy. Let's talk about video games.
Yeah, fresh games of the week. I just have one because obviously I've still been playing Baldur's Gate 3, but during the past week I've been so busy in the lead up to the holiday. I really haven't had much time to play games as much as I would want to. But actually I got some downtime at one point, and I didn't want to play Baldur's Gate 3. Like I wasn't wanting to use my brain that much. I was like, let me just try something that's more of a vibe. And so I put on this game. It's on Game Pass, and it's by the studio called Don't Nod that did the Life is Strange games. But it's called Jusant is the French pronunciation. This was at one of the Xbox showcases that happened, but it's a game that was about climbing, like about rock climbing. and I played it for a few hours. Like I think I'm actually midway through the game, but it is Gary. And I'd actually recommend this to you. Like if you ever just need to decompress, like you in particular, this normally would not be your type of game at all.
No, this sounds like half of Assassin's Creed and the half that I don't particularly like.
It's like a full-on kind of like I don't want to say platformer because that makes me think of like a Mario game, and it's just not that. It's literally you're introduced to this character who's quiet and he is a rock climber of sorts, and you just start scaling this huge mountain that has like history to it, and there's little like things built throughout as you get higher and higher, and the biomes kind of change as you're going through. But it's just the type of game that plays soft music as you're going. You're kind of trying to figure out your way up, but you're never too stumped. And it's the type of game where like when you're climbing, you know, your right trigger grabs with your right hand and your left trigger grabs with your left hand, and you have to kind of alternate, and you actually feel like the strain of climbing as you're playing this game. I don't know. It was just like a really relaxating game. Relaxing. I can't talk. Relaxing game that you could either just enjoy chill music during, you could listen to a podcast during. It's chill, and it's on Game Pass, and I'm enjoying it. So it's Jusant.
Bless you.
That's it. That's the only game I had other than Baldur's Gate 3. Still good. Still good. Finished Act 1 and moved on to Act 2.
Good for you. So Jahan and I played a video game today. Literally today. So this is fresh, but the game is not fresh. Here's what happened, right? We got Starship Troopers, and it's in alpha, right? It's not a full release yet, but I don't think that saves early access. I don't think that saves the experience that we had.
No, it was terrible. It was glitchy, laggy, looked like crap. The guns were shit. The game, it was garbage. It was absolute garbage. We played for about half an hour, and then I got a refund. So,
yeah, it was terrible. It can only be the party connecting was very tough, and then connecting to the game was hard. I immediately had to start Googling fixes to connect to the games, and there were multiple other people that had Googled the fixes, and they did have fixes out, thankfully. But that's not how you want to start, right? So I couldn't connect, couldn't play. It kept saying I had cheat stuff on, even though I didn't. So I had to recheck all my files and stuff like that. Then I finally get in, and it's choppy. Just choppy screen frame rate, terrible. Even though we had our settings set to low, it's just unplayably choppy. On top of that, the graphics were so bad that even if the party connecting had worked, and even if it hadn't have been choppy, it still looked so bad I wouldn't have wanted to play it for long. It failed across every single board. Starship Troopers, yeah, it is not fresh. It is not playable, and I would say do not spend your money on it.
Do not spend your money on this game. We both got refunds. The money's in the account already. I'm buying something else.
Let me follow up.
It's nice that the refund system works that well and that you get it that fast.
Yes, on Steam, as long as you haven't played for more than 2 hours, they pretty much always will give you a refund.
Let me follow up with something that is actually comparatively a 10 out of 10 game, but realistically, a mediocre shooter. Aliens Fireteam Elite has been out for, I think, a year and a half now. And it came out with a whimper. It was a lot of predictable AI stuff that just ran the same routes every single time. Not a lot of guns, not a lot of classes. Since then, they have added more maps, they've added more weapons, they've added 2 extra classes to the game. Aliens Fireteam Elite is completely playable right now. I would give it a 6 or 7 out of 10 now. It was probably a 3 or a 4 when it came out. The weapons are cool. I've got a pistol that just shoots a fireball, like kaboom, an explosive fireball down to the end of the hallway. Cool. My turret shoots flamethrowers. I've got like a giant machine gun. There's all sorts of weapons. The classes are cool, and killing Xenos is a lot of fun. They're just so dark, they're like impossible to see, which is the whole point of the game, right? So I guess you could turn your brightness up and it'd be a little bit easier, but I love the fact that they blend right in with the shadows and environment, and you never know where they're going to come from. For the most part, it's just a wave defense game with friends. You walk a little bit, you shoot a few Xenos, you walk a little bit, you shoot a few more, then you set up somewhere, you defend, and a bunch of special Xenos come at you. You wipe those out, and you rinse, repeat the process. The maps are the same every time. It doesn't change. That's a little predictable and not great. But all things considered, it's not as great as Deep Rock Galactic at killing aliens, but it is an aliens title, so you do get to kill real Xenos. That's a lot of fun. Get to use real weapons and see real characters and stuff. That's a lot of fun. And I don't know, man. I think Aliens Fireteam Elite got better. What I was reading is that the studio was bought by a different studio, and instead of scrapping the game, they said, "Let's fix this," and they've been at it, and it's showing.
Good, because it was not great when it came out. Yeah,
It was not great, and the real kicker here is that Christmas sale, it was $11, $11 for Aliens Fireteam Elite. So for some reason, what went through my head is, how much money would I spend at Dave and Buster's? Because that's the only place I usually shoot aliens. You know, the Aliens arcade games. And I figured I'd spend more than $11 shooting aliens, so I bought it for myself, and I got Jahan Aliens Fireteam Elite for Christmas too. Little $22 bang bang, 2 copies, and now we get to shoot some Xenos together.
hell yeah, dude. I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, I will certify that game fresh for $11.
Okay, fair, good deal. $11, not a problem.
Great deal at $11. I wouldn't. Maybe great deal at $25 even.
Absolutely. I talked about a game last week that I had played a little bit when it was a demo, but now it's out all the way. Against the Storm, I actually got a chance to play this some more. I actually made it through some missions and got to see actually how the gameplay works out, because it's a strategy game where it's a roguelike survival city builder, and so you're building a city. And apparently, what I didn't realize is that, like, in between the sessions of city building, you have to retreat to the Citadel when the storm comes in. And in between, and when the storm recedes again, you have to try to make it to another bastion. It's pretty fun. There's like this large map that you're playing on. There's also the individual maps that you play each round on. Very interesting game. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's on Game Pass, free on Game Pass. Check it out. If you've ever played They Are Billions, it kind of reminds me of that without the combat. They Are Billions is a zombie strategy game, very much in the similar fashion of the overarching campaign map. Very fun stuff. So check out Against the Storm, free on Game Pass for PC. That's all for my games this week.
Well, that's all for everybody's games this week.
Oh boy.
That takes us to our fresh picks of the week.
Dun, 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 dun.
Who wants to kick off here?
I'll do it. December 24th, 1988. A Legend is Born.
It's a curveball right here, man. This is a whole curveball.
A Legend is Born. His name's Jahan, because that's my birthday, but it's also the day that Die Hard takes place and John McClane is moving through the Nakatomi Plaza building. So I watch this movie every year on my birthday, and it is always good. So, haha, Die Hard's my fresh pick. Deal with it.
Did you have any, real quick, did you have any other holiday movies you watched that you didn't include in Fresh Movies of the Week? But
Die Hard, I watched Elf, and I watched Violent Night.
Perfection.
So yeah, Elf is always
got a lot of bits of pieces of Elf and Home Alone and whatever, because typically during the week when it is the holidays, like if I just need something on in the background, I'll look through. I have YouTube TV. I'll look and see what's on TV and usually put it on a Christmas movie.
Home Alone's not a big one for me, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, so maybe I should revisit it.
I like it more as an adult than I did as a child.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I actually used to like Home Alone 2 and 3 also. I just haven't revisited those in a long, long time.
Home Alone 2 is really good.
I liked 3 when they recast and they had that new kid too. I actually kind of liked that one. Didn't hate it.
Yeah, if you go back and watch it, it's weird because ScarJo plays the older sister in like one of her first roles ever.
No way. That's crazy. My fresh pick of the week is, this one goes out to the anime guys, man. I am not a fan of the anime, but One Piece, the live action is so clutch that there's something to consider. Is, you know, has there ever been such a good live action anime rendition of anything ever before? And even if the answer is yes, at least One Piece would be in the conversation of best live action anime renditions ever. And for that not to make the fresh pick of the week would be a disservice to what they've done with that show. If I had been remotely a One Piece fan, then I would be so hyped for this, I wouldn't stop talking about it. You know what I mean? So let's do it. I'm a butthole, and my pick is One Piece.
I love these things that happen on the air that people would have no idea unless they're looking at our Google Docs. This is great. Anyways, I chose as my fresh pick of the week Maestro, the Bradley Cooper directed film that's on Netflix. I just think it's really great. And when I watched it, I thought it was really solid, and it's just stuck with me since and only gotten better with age. And I will probably revisit it in the future. Maestro. Does it have any peen? No, I don't believe it does. Anyways, that's Maestro. It's my fresh pick of the week.
Hey, that was everything. That was our Christmas episode. Hey, thanks everyone for watching. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. This has been Fresh Out the Podcast, and I've been Johanan.
I'm Frosty.
He's Frosty, and I'm Drew Munhausen. You can find me at Drew Munhausen on different social media platforms. And this has been a holiday special, episode 113 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
Stay fresh!